Views and content expressed in the following program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the following program.
Hello, welcome to Political Talk. We haven't been on for a while. This is a show where it's just no cue cards, no idiot boards, just ad-lib conversation. You never know what we're going to say, neither do we. Todd is here.
I'm always here. It doesn't matter if I'm here or not. I'm really not
now,
here.
Today we went casual because it's kind of hot outside. But today we are very lucky to have Corey Scott, who is going to either moderate or referee. We're not quite sure yet. Corey is joining us. We've waited many, many months for him, and we finally got him. So we're going to tie him to the table so he can't get away.
That's
okay.
Probably true.
Right.
Okay. Corey's going to, as a Specs Howard graduate, and has a lot of experience in this. So before we get started, I would like to start with something I saw in the local paper from a father named Carlos Fuentes. He lost his son November 27th, 2016 in a car accident. And he was telling the students how much pain it caused him. Well, I know that pain. And what I'd like to let students know, and believe me, Mr. Fuentes, I know the pain that you're going through. But kids, when your parents, their job is to get you ready for go into the world on your own. It's not an easy job. And for kids to understand now, parents are not telling you how to run your lives. They're telling you how to survive in a world that really is very hard. There's nothing worse than a parent losing a child. It tears you up. So kids, I do understand that your parents, and think about this, your parents have never, ever told you to do something that would be detrimental to your life, where others will. Others will show you, and they will do things that are detrimental and say it's okay.
As in like peer pressure?
Yes. But I can tell you, if you knew how much your parents love you, please don't do that. Listen to them. Mr. Fuentes, I know how you feel. What you're doing is a great thing. It's just unfortunate how it came about. So thank you for taking the time to help after your tragedy. And also, we'd like to congratulate the students of 2017. You've made it through high school.
Now the fun begins.
Yeah.
It's a different world out there.
It's just starting now.
Yes, it is.
So.
All right, what are we going to talk about today, Dave?
Well, the thing that is really getting to me is the differences in the parties, the Democrats and Republicans. We've talked before, but it's getting worse and worse. Democrats versus Republicans. Now,
I don't think there's really any difference between the two parties anymore. Before, you used to know the Republicans stood on this basis more or less for businesses, and the Democrats basically stood on this side here and supposedly more towards entitlements and for the help of the people, but not no more. Now they're blurred.
Well,
they're not really helping anybody right now but themselves. But go ahead.
Okay, a couple of things there. I don't think that Republicans are all for business.
No, that's what they were based on, and conservatism and everything like that.
No, but that's how it looks. And the conservatism, there's nothing wrong with conservatism.
No.
And there's nothing wrong with liberalism. If you take them both and you mesh them together, if you come to an agreement, you can have a liberal conservative point of view.
Yes.
But what they've done is they've made, they're the enemy.
Right.
And that's where it's wrong, because they take, you don't even talk about issues. You talk about the enemy. You talk about the Democrats. You talk about the Republicans, but you don't say anything about them. All you do is say the label, and the label says they're the enemy, they're no good, they aren't for the people, they're not for you, we are.
Well, they do that both back and forth.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I mean, you're right. I mean, you know, a lot of people, like you and I talked about, Rush Limbaugh and Alex Jones from InfoWars and all that, all they want to do is keep saying that it's a war.
Well,
I don't believe it being a war.
No.
I just think it's just a hyped up word that they want to throw in to make society think that we're at odds with each other. Well, we really are at odds with each other, but the problem is, and I've said this over and over, you know, whether they're the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, they've lost touch with the people.
Yeah.
They don't, and this is only my opinion, what they are based on right now is how much money can we get for our party and how much power can we hold on to.
Exactly.
It isn't like it should be. You know, they're supposed to be representing their districts, their constituencies, basically just saying the people of the state or the country. But they're not doing that anymore. They're just vying for power from each other. And if you look at it like I know you don't like who the president is or anything like that, but the thing is, if you look at it even on a national level, it's how much power can we retain? Now that there's a Republican president, you got the Democratic Party who's on the lower side of it. So what do? They're fighting the Republicans like they always do, and they're not doing the work of the people anymore.
No, it used to be a negotiating thing between the two, but it's not that anymore.
No.
And what has happened, for example, they changed the rules. For example, the new health care bill going through the Senate. Now, the Senate said, no, we're going to sit down and we're going to work out something good, because the House just passed something for the sake of passing it, and barely did pass it.
Right.
But there were enough people up there that did see right from wrong. Now, the Senate right now, the Republican Senate
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Do you think they actually read the bill?
Hell no.
That's what I was getting
No,
at, because they're not reading them no more.
Mike Bishop, our congressman,
Right.
has never read the bill. He's going by what the Republican Party told him.
Or, well, this is the other thing. They're not really reading it. They're saying that their staff members are reading
Okay.
it for them, and then the staff member. Now remember this part: the staff member's reading this, so he's going to give his interpretation to Mike Bishop. For
But not
instance.
only that, but there's omission of facts that they didn't bring up. And I know you and I have argued over this. Are you sure you want to do this? And then the reason
you're welcome to chime in anytime you want, Corey.
Well, I'll let you finish your point, then I have a question.
Okay, the omission is there were Republican governors that helped facilitate the downfall of Obamacare, or the Affordable Health Care Act. The Republicans brought it out on a publicity barrage of how bad it was. And people bought into it because my party said it was bad. Well, the thing was, they had no plan. They said they did. Some said they did, some said they didn't. It went back and forth, back and forth. They had 6 years where you could have sat down as intelligent men and said, okay, look, parts of this is really good, and this part is great for all the people. These parts are not so good. Let's fix them. Well, we didn't do that. What we did was we had a war of words that amounted to nothing. Now they, for whatever reason, they won, and now they had to produce. Well, they didn't have anything. And then the facts came out as to how the demise went. It wasn't just that Obamacare went down. There were reasons that were done on purpose. Now, I will say this for Governor Snyder. He was in Israel when the legislature here in Lansing was supposed to vote on that. And he came back from Israel early because they voted it down. But he said
Vote on
no
what?
for the Affordable Health Care Act and Medicaid in Michigan. Now, what he said was, this will help 350,000 people in the state of Michigan who actually need it. For once, he worked for the people. Now, granted, it did cost the state a little bit of money, but look at how many people it helped.
You're talking about the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
Okay.
But now-
and see, this is where you and I differ on this. The Affordable Care Act did have some good things to it. I won't deny that. And a lot of that is with the pre-existing situation on health issues, okay? But it was propped up by incentives from the federal government, okay? When those incentives left, the insurance rates went up.
Okay, my point wasn't really the Affordable Health Care Act. My point was that 100 senators, regardless of party, were supposed to represent the people of their state
Right.
and could have sat down as logical, intelligent human beings instead of the jackasses that they are, fighting over falsehoods, like I say, omission of facts. And now what they've done is, in order to get it through, what Donald Trump said, go nuclear. It wasn't go nuclear, it's change the rules. So yes, the Russians did interfere with our system, but our own
The
system
facts still aren't out there on that.
are, yes they are.
I have not seen the finished
Not yet, you won't,
investigation.
but it is there.
But
Because,
then again, Obama interfered with Canadian elections.
Okay, no,
He
wait a minute.
interfered with Brexit.
Wait a minute.
And I'm not standing up for Trump on
oh,
this.
no, and
But,
I'm not saying
I
you're
mean,
for
almost
Obama
every-
on that.
Almost every president has interfered with other countries' elections. And even other countries. Russia's interfered with all of them as well. So has Israel.
But my point is this, that our own people now are taking democracy as to what it was supposed to be and changing the rules to get the power that they want. So my point isn't so much that the Affordable Health Care Act, I use that as an example.
Okay.
The fact is they changed the rules. Same thing when they got the Supreme Court justice in there. They changed the rules. Well, you change the rules to gain power. Now
Every administration changes these rules
Wait a minute.
at one point or another. Obama changed rules in there to get his selection in there for the
and I'm
courts
not
as well.
defending Democrats.
I'm
They're
just using administrations.
They're just as guilty.
You're right.
The point is that this is our government. It belongs to the people, and what you guys are doing are changing the rules and making it to where it's a power mad
Dave,
thing.
I'm sorry.
Go.
Because you were going. My question is to both of you. I mean, you had this conversation before that the people don't realize that the government works for us and not for themselves. What, other than vote, what can we do? What can we urge the people to do to make sure that the government is actually working for them? Because I hear it on Facebook all the time. Everyone wants to complain, but nobody is doing anything, and I think that's because no one knows exactly what to do.
Well, go ahead.
In my opinion, what has to be done is the common people need to run for office, okay? But in order for that to happen, we need, because the big thing with the elections is if you're a no-name, the people don't know nothing about you, and so chances are they overlook you.
Right.
But the problem is we need to get the people, at least of Michigan I can speak with and say for, is we need to get people to look at the candidates for what they really are. In other words, are they a viable candidate? Are they believable? And what they're doing, is it possible to get them done? Right now, and again, just in Michigan that I know of, you've got whole families, entire families, that are strictly will vote Democratic or Republican just because it's been through their whole families all the way. And this is what's got to change in society, not just in Michigan, but in other states. They've got to realize that there is independents out there is green parties out there is libertarian parties. What I would suggest, and this is how, I've voted Republican, I've voted Democrat, I've voted Green Party before. The thing is, you need to start asking these questions, and these are two questions that I use all the time. What this candidate is saying, is it a possibility? Will it help my family and my community? If it does, and you can actually believe what he's saying, then that's who you vote for. It doesn't matter what party they are. Because right now, as the system is, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, most time we elect a Democrat or a Republican. The problem is, these people can come out here and tell you, they'll go out there purposely to tell you what your community wants to hear. Problem is, they still follow their party guidelines. They follow, if their party decides that they need to go this way or lean more this way, they do it. They follow their party. Because if they don't, they're afraid they're going to be an outcast. Once they're done out of office with their term, they're done in their party, because their party supposedly will never trust them again. Well, we need to break that chain. We need to, listen to the people, and in order to listen to the people means we have to be out there to see the people. Most of them, once they get your vote, you never see them again.
Well, another thing is the money that's involved. When the Koch brothers passed the law that any amount of money can go in, because now they've gone even further and they're doing commercials now to get their point across. Well, they can do that.
Well, they got the money to do it.
They have the money to do it. The thing is that, and I have brought this up, and I'll bring it up again because I love doing it. It sticks it to them. Every time I call the congressman's office, the state rep, or the state senator, I remind them, especially the girl in Washington, when I called Mike Bishop's office, let me explain why I'm calling. I received my paycheck on Friday, and I noticed some money was taking out. And I found out that money went to pay Mr. Bishop's salary. Mr. Bishop asked for the job to represent me. Well, let's see. He asked for the job to represent me, and whether I voted for him or not, he got the job. Let's see. He's being paid out of my paycheck. His office is being paid out of my paycheck, and they wouldn't give me the time of day. And I tell them, he works for me. He works for you. He works for you. The thing is, they have it set up to where they don't have to answer to anybody. And what's really sad is, I'm for the people, I'm for this. Well, no, because if you look at what they do what the party tells them. Now, you want a great example? I'll give you one.
That's what I said.
When I ran here for state rep, the Republican Party bashed me to no end on things that absolutely were not true. The funny thing was, I talked to some of them and got feedback on it. They didn't know who I was. And they were completely wrong. And the funny part was, they were complaining about the person that they had in office, who was a Republican. And it really hit me funny. When I went out and I talked to people, I'll give you one example. I went to a door, I talked to a man and woman. We had a long conversation, went over different issues, and they loved everything I said. I mean, we were going back and forth, smiling and laughing, and yeah, that's how I feel too. And then just before he left, he said, "Oh, by the way, what party are you?" I said, "Well, I'm a Democrat." And he threw his card at me and slammed the door. Yet he agreed with everything I said.
This is the thing that I'm saying, though.
Now, the person they had in office did what he was told to do by the party, by the Speaker of the House and Speaker of the Senate. He did their bidding. Mm-hmm. He did not represent the people of the district. He did what they wanted him to do. Okay? So now, the people didn't like that. Well, what he did, he parlayed that into a higher paying job now on the Liquor Control Commission, which, is now subsidizing his business where he spent the majority of his time. Exactly. If anyone wants to really see something of these guys, get the job description of what they're supposed to do, and then look at what they do. Now, the thing is...
And you can go, what's that, Vote
This
Spotter?
is both parties.
I know what. You can go on Vote Spotter, and you can look up your representative. You can check on there to see whether they're voting yes or no on any bills, and I know exactly who you're speaking about. And between him and the senator of this district...
Oh, you mean the one that's going to Florida because he doesn't want to pay state...
retirement tax.
Retirement tax?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, he's moving as we speak.
Yep.
But
yet he said no, he wasn't doing that. But he's doing
people.
it.
Oh, yeah. His neighbors and the people around him. And, I mean, he opens his mouth. And you know what's really amazing? A month ago, another Republican asked me to
join
their party.
This is the stuff that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
This is what I've been struggling with all the time. When people ask me my opinions on certain things, and I'm not bashful, I'll give you my opinion. And I'll give you how I look at things. Well, unless you ask me about Trump, I'm not going to give you an opinion on him yet.
Oh, wait a minute. As far as if Trump was a Democrat, it'd be equally as disgusting.
I'm not
This
saying
is a man who
I-
breeds hate, but that's going to be for another show.
Well, let me. I want to kind of piggyback on the Obamacare and what Trump is trying to pass, or I'm not sure if it already passed yet.
No, it's working.
No,
on
it's
it.
in the Senate right now.
What was so bad, in both your opinions? What was so bad about Obamacare where Trump felt like he had to do the undo button on that?
You
What
take this
was,
one
or
first.
what was?
All right, the thing with Trump is it's with his ego. And he played it up and played it up. And even some of the Republicans kind of separated themselves from him on this issue. But when they saw that they won, then they wanted to jump on the bandwagon. Trump is, I know there's Trump lovers out there. And as I say, the Republicans, I want to clarify something. There are a lot of great Republicans out there. Why did you pick this man? The only thing that I can see is that one, state reps, state senators, congressmen, and U.S. senators forgot to talk to their people. They came down and got the vote, and then after that, they didn't have any time for them. So they felt disenfranchised. They felt no one's listening to me. So here comes Trump with his crap, and he's telling them, regurgitating to them what they have said. Oh, he's for me, because why? He listened to what I said and he agreed with it. Well, he didn't agree with it. He just told them what they wanted to hear. So now they jumped on the bandwagon. And there was no substance to it. It was all style. And he got through with that style, but it hasn't gone into anything else. There is no plan afterwards. Now, as terrible as this is going to sound, in a way, I hope that the thing does pass. Because unfortunately, a lot of people, including Trump voters, are going to learn a lesson. And it's a sad lesson. Because if it passes, there is no backup. And another documentary has been done by someone who has said, if this thing passes, the people are going to be shocked as to what's going to happen to them.
Well, now I'm going to interject something. It isn't the place of the federal government to make health care. The only place that they should be involved with is Medicare or the veterans. As far as everything goes with health insurance, it should be the states that mandate their own insurance. Rick Schneider can step up anytime as long as he's governor, and he can put a plan in place for the people of Michigan. The governors of each state have more authority in their state than the president himself does. So as far as that goes, we need to have a strong governor, no matter who's elected in 2018.
Okay, I'll disagree with you on a point there.
Okay.
I'll agree with you halfway that maybe the federal government should not be the ones to issue out the health care. However, the thing was, as the system was going and people did not have insurance, somebody paid. There was no free health care for anybody. If somebody went in, somebody else paid.
I understand
So
that.
that brought it down.
But
Now,
the
this theory-
state should be taking care of its own people, plain and simple. If the state's not going to allow, the state has control over the businesses that are in there. The state can turn around and say, look, you need to lower your prices. As an industry whole in the state of Michigan, the health insurance industry, they made $80 billion profit
Okay, well,
last year.
This goes back into the parties themselves.
That's what I've been getting at.
These
But the
guys
whole
are-
thing is, the federal government has no place. Our
Well,
federal government was
okay.
made, or was their only job is to protect the nation. Basically,
okay,
they've usurped their authorities with. You had, and I have nothing against the LGBT community whatsoever. Nothing against them. They deserve all their rights just like any other American does. But you had the Supreme Court justice that wrote law from the bench. It's not their job to write laws from the bench.
No, it isn't.
It's
That's a
legislature's
checks
job.
and, that's a checks and balance.
But
yes,
but they did it,
yeah.
okay? And the same thing with health insurance. Obamacare brought in something that was good, and I've said this over and over. Pre-existing shouldn't have any conditions on anybody's health. The health insurance industry should be made to insure them no matter what. Not at any higher rate than anybody else, because the way the system works is the same way our Social Security system works. The youth pay for the older people. Okay, the healthy people pay for the sick people. I understand that. But if it's made mandatory, which it shouldn't be, but it is, so you need to follow those laws because it was overwhelmingly set, the state needs to make it available and affordable.
But now I'm going to take the Republican side on that.
This is the Republican and Democratic side. It should be, but it's not.
Right. Why should everybody pay for everybody else's insurance?
Because it's a society.
Okay. Now, having said that, why is it that we can send so much money overseas? Now, Trump just went out. And
I don't agree with sending all the money overseas.
Okay,
I've been against that all along.
If you look now, Israel is our ally, and in this particular case, Trump did something that I thought was despicable by going to the NATO countries and saying you owe us, but then we increased. And Obama was the one that increased it. So, this is not a Democrat-Republican thing. We increased the billions of dollars that we send over to Israel and to the countries that favor us or favor the party, and yet we tell our own people, sorry. Now, should the federal government pay for it? No. Can they help facilitate it? Yes. Can they help control the cost? Yes.
Well, why don't they take care of our house first?
That's
been my opinion
there was
all along.
a Republican that I thought I voted for him, and that was Ron Paul, because he said the first thing, and he put it the best of anybody. Why don't we fix our own house first?
Exactly.
And then we can help others.
Look at all these industries that are out there for, and I'm not going to pick on them. I don't mean to pick on them, but I'm going to use them. You got Save the Children and all these foundations that are they're spending millions and billions of dollars funneling money into other countries. I understand wanting to help poor families and stuff. We need to take care of our house first, because what is it? You have to love yourself before you can love somebody else. So why can't we fix our problems here? Yes, we have to worry about what's going on around us, but put most of the
the money that I was talking about was not money that went for Save the Children and helping countries to feed each other. I'm all for that. And that's not an entitlement. I'm talking about money that's given to political regimes that use it to pad their pockets, use it for palaces, use it for hotels, use it for their own personal use. And then they say, oh, well, we need more to defend our country. To take care of people, that's different. There is a difference in there.
But we're not the police of the world.
I'm not saying we're the police.
I know, but that's where it's all
going.
For
starving people, yes, you help them. But not to give it to regimes in order to gain favor with them. Not to give a government so much money. For example, here's a stupid one that happened many, many years ago. Remember when they did We Are the World? Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones. The country they sent that to, their government said, you cannot give this money unless we get half of it, and the people will get the other half. $50 million.
I understand that, but the whole thing is they shouldn't. Like I said, I know it's good to be helping other countries. It's not really the countries; it's the people that we're actually thinking about. But it doesn't work that way, and I'm so upset with the system. Like I said, we're not the police of the world, but at the same time, we need to take care of home.
I'm saying money spent to to save a starving child or a starving village and get water to them, that is humanitarian.
I understand.
Okay, and that I'm all for. However, I am not for.
But what about our families here that are having the same issues?
No, I'm not arguing that point. I agree with you on that.
Don't you think we ought to be taking care of our own first?
Yes, but I don't think we should be giving money to outside governments. And
every country that this money goes into, Dave, their government is taking parts of it, and we realize it. So why do we keep doing it?
So we send the food over. We go over when John Kennedy put in what was that program? I can't think of the name of it. These were the things that helped other countries rebuild themselves. We helped them to help themselves. We didn't do it for them, and we didn't hand them, here's a few $100, have a nice day.
Well, that's the same thing with that going on in Iraq right now.
Yeah.
We go in there, we strip the dictatorship out of there, and then we go in and the U.S. is the only country that's ever done this. We go in, we'll blow the heck up out of a country during war, and then we go back in and rebuild it. That's all out of us taxpayers' pocket. Okay, some of it you can say is humanitarian because we tore it up, but we're the only country that does it, that has ever done that I'm aware of.
Well,
Is it possible? Someone asked me this question some time ago. Could that reason be the fact that we go into all these other countries and try to basically plant our flag? Is it because that there's some special interest in those particular countries, like some type of resource maybe that?
Like when they were saying with the Iraq War, a lot of people would tell you it was over the oil, you know, and I believe partially that because Halliburton was involved with Dick Cheney, and I worked with Dick Cheney before. He's not a very nice guy, and I can see him shooting somebody in the face.
well, there was.
I mean, Halliburton, I worked for them for 5 or 6 years. I had a chance to go to Perth, Australia to work with them, but I chose not to. And matter of fact, I got out of the oil industry altogether with it that way. But I can honestly believe that he had a big, major part of that, of going in there for the oil. And I can guarantee you that man suggested it.
Something that bothered me, and it's along the lines of what you were saying, is that Peace Corps, that was what I was trying to think of.
Peace Corps is a great organization.
Okay, that was the one I was trying to think of. But, you know, I've heard this in this country, and I'm a conservative Democrat. I'm so conservative, that's why the Republicans keep asking me to join them. But the thing is that when Republicans seem to talk like that, it's like, oh, well, you know, people here are just lazy. They just want a free ride. They don't want to work. That's not true. Now, how can you stand there and say that about your own country? And then when they need it, now, Trump, he said that he brought back the coal industry. Well, no, you didn't. You may have slowed it down and put a stop to it, but you haven't brought it back. You gave him false hope, and that's wrong. There are kids out there, the issue that we brought up with the schools, okay? You want the privileged to have the good and the rest to get the scraps. Well, that's not our country. Our country was everybody had an equal chance. Now, if you blew that chance, that was on you as an individual.
That's what our country was as it was when
But it's not that
reformed.
way anymore.
No.
Now it's
They pick and choose a lot of the communities.
well,
that
John
they
Engler
want.
did that.
With here in Michigan, yes, John Engler did start that.
He did that with the schools.
But Jennifer Granholm had a chance to take that out
Yes,
of
she
here.
did.
So did Rick Schneider.
Yes, they did.
And neither of them.
Well, there's reasons for that. The legislature in Lansing they're more concerned with campaigning. There are a lot of them, believe it or not, if you want to go up there and find out, a lot of them are out there with their hand held out.
For the next election. I know.
No, not just the next election. What they can get now, they're cutting deals for themselves, just like they are in Washington.
For once
Trump
they get
said-
out of office.
Trump said, I'm going to stop all that. It's worse now than it ever was. There's people up there, including our congressman,
He has
who are,
no control over what goes over in Michigan.
wait a minute.
On that issue.
The point is, these are the people that we're putting in office.
And the thing is, we have to get the message out to the people of Michigan that you need to start looking at other parties because the two-party system is broken.
When
Plain and
I
simple.
ran, I took not a dime and was criticized for that. And then the person who was in office is patting himself and, you know, even though they disliked him, oh, well, I'll vote for him. Well, then shut up. If you don't like what you got, you voted for it, you got what you voted for, sit down, shut up, and don't say a word.
Well, that's
You
what's
had
gotta
a chance to
change.
have somebody who
That-
cared about you. And you blew it. Because
This is what we have to change.
no, if a representative should not go up to Lansing and be told that he can't do anything unless it's go along to get along. In other words, if you don't come and campaign for each one of us and help us collect more money so that our party can stay in power, then any legislation that you have for your district is nullified. It'll never happen. You might as well sit there
Why
for
do you
2
think
years.
they do what they do? This is one of the things that I hate. When they get elected, they send them to Lansing for training. Okay, this is so that they can put the freshman state reps or freshman senators in place so that they can tell them that this is what you can do and can't do. How many of our freshman senators or freshman state reps have you ever seen pass a bill or even
Oh,
submit
no,
a bill?
no, they haven't. They haven't. And
They don't allow them.
Meekoff, right now, just like Mike Bishop, were demagogues in there. And there were Democrats that were the same way. They did their job on behalf of the party. That's who they represented, the party. And as far as the people went, we don't care if it's good enough for them. We will wait till we get in power. Detroit didn't have to happen. Mike Bishop had a hand in that because he blocked everything that they wanted to do to stop it. The Democrats were just as guilty by knowing what this guy was doing and allowing it to happen, but what they do, they circled the wagons and protected him. And the same thing with Trump. They circled the wagons. Same thing with Nixon. Same thing with Clinton. And the thing is, when you do that, you're telling the American people, we don't care about you. We're going to take care of ourselves.
Right there is where my issue is with Flint.
And
They did the same damn thing to Flint,
Yes.
Michigan.
And they circled the wagons to protect themselves. What really amazed me was when the people went up there and the guy said, he's not going to talk to you. He doesn't have time for you.
Exactly.
And as I said before, and I'll say it again, I ever find out who the person was that said, the people of Flint live in a cesspool and they deserve what they get, I will rake you over the coals. I will put it in every paper. You know, that's kind of stuff.
But this
is this what we're putting in? Is this the
This
parties
is
that we want?
exactly what we're putting in. The people need to change that idea.
Parties, stop what you're doing. Look at
You're
yourself.
not going to
You
get them
have
to
some
stop
credibility.
it. The only
No,
thing you're going to do is get the people to do it.
there are great Republicans out there.
Not
But
anymore.
is it enough? Is it enough to stop what you're talking about? I mean, like
The
Todd said,
people,
it's
like you said, the people control it.
That's what I'm saying. We need to stop with the two-party system. People need to actually get out of that habit of checking Democrat as straight line ticket, Republican straight line ticket. I don't disagree with straight line voting. The problem is that we need to pay attention to the people that we're putting into this office. You can't have all Democrats and Republicans. You need to get independents in there, Green parties in there, Libertarian. For the reason is, then you have multi-parties in there that can actually stand up for the people and break the chains.
Not only that, you have to hold them accountable. And that means that you have to call, Now, I demanded from Mike Bishop to be on his.
Did you get it?
No.
All right then.
No,
it's going to take more than just your voice, Dave.
no, it's got to take a lot of them. But
Yes.
I'll tell you what I am happy to see. The day after the inaugural, we saw a march on Washington, but also in New York, also in Los Angeles, in all 50 states. Not only that, we saw it all over the world. This is a movement that's coming to where people are saying, no, I don't like this. When he passed the travel ban, people came out, but they came out for people. That wasn't passed for people. That was pure hate.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, I don't agree. I didn't agree with that because he put the travel ban on the same 7 countries that Obama did at one point. Or,
Yes.
excuse me, not Obama, Bush, when 9/11 happened. Okay? I don't agree with it because that was such a small part of the Muslim community. I mean, you got 95 countries out there that have Muslims in them, including the United States. But the whole fact is, I didn't agree. I mean, he was completely, and I don't believe I'm about to say this, but he was completely in his right and legality to do it. I didn't agree how he did it, and and I'm glad the people stood up to it so far. But the whole thing is,
But he said,
it doesn't matter how I know when he said it. This is why I don't agree with it, because it was the wording that was put into it.
yes, but that wording took an entire race of people, just like he did with the Hispanic population. And then when he brought out his poem, The Snake, he is the snake.
Whether, like I said, whether we like him or dislike him, the people of this country elected him.
I'm telling
And
the
the
people.
only thing is, out of that election, and the only reason, and I stand by this because I've had people ask me what my opinion of his. I can't give you an opinion right now because I don't know what to think of the man. Wait a year, and then I'll tell you if I feel he's an idiot or not.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, parties aside, we are people. We are good people. The parties, I think, have been divisive and have brought forth hate. misinformation, racism. They breed that. That's not what a party is supposed to be. A party is someone who's supposed to have a point, a cause, a reason to exist. But that reason cannot be for collection of money and power. That is not what it's supposed to be. And that's what it happens to be right now. And when the two parties have a dislike for each other, when they are conniving against one another, when elections are cheated on, we will implode. And we will do it to ourselves. The Russians had their part. We're going to finish it. We don't know basic rule to know right from wrong. And the parties don't know that.
And for a final thought for me, what I would say is this. I've said it a couple times already during this show. You need to look at the candidates. In my opinion, I've said it over and over, the two-party system is broken. They've lost touch with us, the people. You need to get up and get yourself involved. Don't just leave it to the two-party system thinking that they're going to help you. Because right now their main concern is to fill their party coffers, to fill their pockets with money, and to have good paying jobs after they're done. You need to get out there, run for office. I don't, if you still believe that you want to be part of the Democratic Party, be part of it. But don't let them put you in your place. You need to stand up and have your voice heard. You need to, if you're going to run for office, you need to represent the people. I don't care if you run state rep, senator, or even governor. You stand up for the people. That's what you are elected to do. And again, I would recommend if you're going to run for office, run for an independent, run for Green Party, run for Libertarian, run for taxpayer. I don't care. Even run under the Tea Party. Run for office. Don't let these incumbents ruin our lives. They don't care about what us, the people, feel. They treat us and think of us only as a blank check. If you want change, at least in this state, you need to stand up. You need to have your voice heard. You need to elect the people that are actually there for you. The two-party system, the Democrats and the Republicans, you can look at it going on right now with our gubernatorial race. I mean, you got Brian Calley and Bill Schuette out there talking about part-time legislature. We already have a part-time legislature. They're only working 100 days a year. Get out there and think. Get out there and, I don't care if you go outside your house and scream at the top of your voice. Get out there and have your voice heard. The only way we're going to do that is by changing the two-party system. Anything you'd like to add to it, Corey?
I just think that, just to kind of piggyback on something that both you guys are saying, is that the only way that this can change is if we all come together. This generation, I've seen it all over Facebook during the days before the election and the days of the election, that their vote doesn't count. And we are now in a situation where, had they voted, we may be in a different, the circumstances may be different, the president may be different. It's very important, not only for us in the present time, but in the future as well. Laws are being passed that may destroy things that's important to us, like healthcare.
Well, one thing that I'd like to throw in on that point is that the parties in this past election, the reason the Trump election was the start of something, is it was so vile and so hateful. We did not pick the two best candidates. As a matter of fact, of the four candidates, we did not pick the best. We didn't pick the best and the brightest. We picked who was
the most different. We picked the one that was the people selected him for change.
Not just that. The best and the brightest don't want it.
It's a hard job.
Because of that, control that is on it. They want to come in. There's people out there like myself who wanted to work for the people. I didn't want anything from them. As I said, I collected no money. I didn't want anything but to do the job. And yet that wasn't, that, although they said that was the right thing, it turned out to be very detrimental. And for someone to come out, could you think of better Democrats or Republicans that could have been out there? I'm sure if we looked, they're out there.
Well, Dave, I have to use a basketball reference with this because me and you have talked about this many times about you taking donations, during your running. It's like the NBA. Everyone has a problem with LeBron going to a superstar team. Everybody has a problem with Kevin Durant going to a superstar team, making a super team. In order for them to get the ring, that's kind of what they have to do. And for you to make a change, to let your voice be heard, I hate I'm saying this, but it's almost like that's what you have to do. If you know that you have what it takes to make change, that you may have to kind of.
But it wasn't meant to be like that. And that's what it is now, and it's just getting worse. The thing is, if we don't change it, I would say, I'm afraid of what's going to be 10 years from now. And we'll get a taste of it next year. So, let's see, we didn't burn the building down. We're still here. You made it through the first show.
Yes, I did.
Okay. This is Political Talk with Todd.
Todd Schleifer.
And
Corey
Scott.
Who we're very grateful to have. And we'll be signing off now, and we'll see you on the next show. Hopefully it'll be equally as
Exciting.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching.
Have a good evening.
Views and content expressed in the previous program are not representative of ONTV or the Board of Directors. ONTV and its Board of Directors do not endorse the views, thoughts, or content of the previous program.